Dear board members, can I have your attention? We're in need of a volunteer to capture minutes for us today. Who is up for the task? You can do the buddy system. It can be 2, 3. It could be a collective. It could be a collective effort. Etonia. Let's all give a round of applause for Etonia. Thank you. We see you, Etonia, and appreciate you. Thank you. Hi, Sonia. It's Beatrice. My camera's not on. Would you be able to mute yourself? Sonia? Hi,
Yes.
it's Beatrice.
Hi, Beatrice. How are you?
Good. My camera is not working. Would you be able to mute yourself? We hear you
Certainly.
typing away. Thank you. Good to see you.
Same here. Thank you.
Yeah. Board members, I need you to sit down. We need to see if we have quorum. We're counting, please. If our board members could sit, we're trying to make sure we have quorum so we can get started. Thank you. And Wayne just made quorum for us. Hey! Welcome. Wayne, I think there's pizza left in Ursula's office.
Can y'all bring me some pizza?
Hi, Talene. Okay, we're ready to get started. Let us know when we're ready. Ready? Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for our board members for being here, being on time, our presenters, and our community residents. Welcome. Today is Thursday, April 27th, and we're getting ready to start our meeting at 7:14. First, we're going to start with our public gallery session. As a reminder, you have 3 minutes, 2.5 minutes to share. The last 30 seconds is to get some community feedback.
Okay, the first person is Mr. Guy Loving.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, everyone. Beautiful day today, right? Turn on the mic. It's on, I think. Is it on? Yeah. Okay. My name is Guy Loving, and I am representing the Family Enrichment Center of the Williamsbridge-Baychester area. You normally see Joseph Urbina, who is our director. I am the community liaison, and I'm here just to tell you some of the things that we are doing. I'm sure you've heard about us. You've seen our flyer. I'm showing it to you now. And we're active in the community as we are building our center and finding a location. What we have done, we have partnered with some things with these ladies at the libraries. We have Miss Rosa from the Eastchester branch, and we have Miss Shantae, and she's from the Wakefield branch, which is right here. We are looking into doing a knitting circle and a chess club with them. We have gone into some of the schools, and we are working with the parent coordinators. We find that there are a lot of children that are in shelters now living in this community, and we are reaching out to find ways to serve them, maybe with laundry cards so they can get laundry done, and food cards and things like that. We have also visited numerous senior centers. We've been at the Bay Eden Center, we've been at the Boston Seacoast Center, and we are on our way to the Boston Road Center. And we have made connections with them. We're looking forward to offering cards and conversations and other services to the seniors as well. Our center is open to everyone from age 0 to 150, 200, no matter how old you are. We are looking to serve this community. We're still looking for feedback from the community. We are going to build our center based on the input of this community. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Just how to spell your last name?
Loving, as in tender, loving care.
Mr. Loving, I just want to remind you that there is a Rain Senior Center on White Plains Road on the other side of Gun Hill Houses. Please don't forget them.
We have reached out to them. We reached out to all of the Rain centers, and as they get back to us, well, we will reach out to them again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, this is our family advocate. This is Mr. Tyrone Spivey. Maybe he may want to say something about his role.
You just have like 5 seconds left.
We've got 5 seconds left.
It's all right. He did well. Thank you guys for hearing us out.
Thank you so much for joining us.
It's, Lunky, Sue Lunky. S-E-W. Is that it? Next. Toba? Oh, you're here? Okay.
Good evening, everyone. SEW, Susan E. Wagner. We're celebrating the 60th anniversary of Susan E. Wagner this year, and we have been quiet, but we've been servicing quietly in the Bronx area. And if I may just read a little bit of a history of the school, so you have an idea. We're looking to co-name 229th by White Plains Road on the corner there by Susan E. Wagner. And so Susan E. Wagner, here she is. She was a visionary and a dedicated community leader. She co-founded the Susan Wagner Daycare Program that has grown over the last 60 years into a network of 5 preschools in the Bronx, now serving over 500 students, many of whom are diagnosed with special needs. Her passion for education and early childhood development created opportunities for countless families. Beyond her contribution to education, she was deeply engaged in civic life, serving for many years on Community Board 12 and as the president of the local chapter of the NAACP, where she championed social justice and equality. She was instrumental in the formation of the Thruway Homeowners Association and was the co-founder of the National Council of Negro Women. She also helped to organize the Williamsbridge and Co-op City branch of the National Council of Negro Women, working to empower women and uplift families within the community. Although she's no longer with us, Her spirit lives on through the lives she's touched and the institution she helped to build. Renaming the street in her honor would be a fitting tribute to someone so deeply admired and loved, and whose contributions continue to impact our city to this day. We thank you for your consideration, and we'll be celebrating this year. We brought some save the date cards so that you can put it on your calendars, and a brief history of the school. Just give me 1 second. The Susan A. Wagner organization began 60 years ago as a single preschool, nurturing early
excuse me.
development.
You said you want to rename the intersection right here?
229th and White Plains Road, code name.
Code name?
Yeah.
So the problem is this is already Carmen Rosaway at this intersection.
At the corner of White Plains on the school
Yeah,
side?
Right here. On this side.
On this side. So we're looking to do it on the other side, by the school.
There's another intersection?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
So you want them to come to your committee?
Yes. So you're gonna have to come on the 12th next month to the transportation committee.
Okay.
I think they're supposed to also get letters from Kevin Riley and stuff. You already
Okay.
have them? Yes, we have. Okay, great.
We completed the application and everything already, so they told us to come back today.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
Yeah.
so this is our committee, and one of the things I
Yeah,
wanted
so I'm sorry. So typically what happens, and that's great, you already have all your documentation that we need. It has to go through committee first.
Okay.
And then they take a vote on it, and then they'll bring it back to our next board meeting, and then we all vote on it.
Perfect.
Okay, so make sure you come back Monday, May 12th.
May
And
12th.
that's when, yes, you'll come for that committee number 1.
Okay.
7
Thanks so
p.m.
much.
here.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you for being here.
Okay. Okay.
Keep coming. Okay, Toba?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Toba Adeyemi Crown. I'm the president of the 47th Precinct Council. I'm just here to kind of remind everyone that one of our major events for the year is the Breakfast Fellowship, where we recognize officers for the year and also community leaders. Like I told someone, is the only major fundraising event that we have. Every other event that we plan through the council, they are all free to the community. So I want to use this opportunity to appeal, also to encourage Community Board 12 to have a table, if possible, 2 tables. And if you think you might not be able to come because it's during the week, you can also support the council to just show your support for the to the police department. So I tell people that it's an opportunity for you to support NYPD through your local organization. So that is why I've come. The ticket is $50. I have some of them here. And if you cannot make it, definitely just show your support. You could make an individual donation. It's going to be April 30th, Wednesday by 8 a.m. And they will be honoring our police officers for the year and also community leaders. Any question? Yes, it's at the Eastwood Manor. Yes? No question? Please, I have the tickets here. I will stay behind. If some of you need the tickets, please talk to me. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for sharing with us. Okay, do we have anyone online for our public gallery session? Okay, well, that concludes the public gallery session. Next up, we are going to now have a presentation from Department of Social Services.
That's the word. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I'm Jamar Hooks, Deputy Commissioner for Intergovernmental and Legislative Affairs at the Department of Social Services, which includes the Department of Homeless Services and the Human Resources Administration.
Oh, wait, you know what? I'm going to pull up the presentation too while you're speaking. I know there's a presentation, right?
I'm joined today by my colleagues at Hogar to discuss the proposed shelter at 2101 Needham Avenue. I'm also joined by my colleagues Jocelyn Bennett and Gina Williams, who are online. They couldn't make it today. Also, Hogar has some colleagues that are online as well. Hogar is our provider that will run the site, and they're going to give a quick presentation, let you know who they are and what you can come to expect from the shelter, which is going to be a single adult shelter for single women 50 and older, expected to open fall of this year. I'll hand it over to Hogar for presentations, and then we'll answer any questions that you may have.
Good evening, everyone. And thank God that we have a good day today. My name is Roberto Crespo. I am the director of, oh, sorry. Twenty-one oh one Needham. Yes, it was. It's on the corner of Boston Road and Needham.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
Again, thank you. My name is Roberto Crespo. I am the Director of Community Partnership. I'm here with our Chief of Staff of OGAL, Erica Rodriguez. I believe online you have our CEO, Mr. Ed Petty, and our Vice President of Programs, Gigi Quinones. What we're here for is to work with DHS on this particular project at Needham Avenue, 2101 Needham Avenue. OGAL has been here since 1969. It's been going through its phases, and now it's finally going on a trajectory that's beyond our greatest beliefs. Our mission statement is to promote, foster, and provide the highest quality housing and services in therapeutic and dignified environment. The vision statement is to empower individuals to regain independent lives, fulfillment lives, and reintegrate into society. We have over 70,000 there are over 70,000 individuals who are homeless in New York City. Many adults with mental health challenges, HIV/AIDS, physical disabilities, lack of accessibility, and stable housing and visual social services. Disenfranchised individuals often face stigma, unemployment, and barriers to receiving necessary care. Oh, next page. Next page. I'm sorry. All right. Our services is comprehensive to case management, permanent and transitional housing options, crisis intervention, entitlement support, mental health and job training program, and recreational and social engagement activity. The new facility highlights a standalone resident at 2101 Needham, dedicated for 130 women over the age of 50, 24/7 staffing with a maximum support and security. The next page, please. Here's a photograph of the facility. Presently, right now, it's being rehabbed totally, inside and outside, a total gut rehab. All right. And next page. Again, this is what it looks like right now, but it will be looking a lot better. Next page. Next page. Thank you. Security and surveillance, which is the first picture there. I happen to come from a background of law enforcement, and so I believe strongly in the law enforcement part, and we need to, you got to make with what you have. So what we're doing is we're putting cameras. If you see in the previous page, you'll see that there's going to be cameras in every corner of the exterior, on the lower part as well as in the upper part, and cameras inside the facility but not inside the rooms. It's against the law to have cameras in there. Healthcare and community linkages. We are in partnership with local clinics, hospitals, and pharmacies to create strong healthcare linkage to our clients. These relationships will ensure access to primary care, mental health support, and necessary medication. If I'm not mistaken, there is a large pharmacy on the other side of on Boston Road, yeah, on Boston Road, and we will be contacting them and speaking with the owners to make sure that they will have the ability to furnish us with, in case there's emergencies, with the doctors of the clients. Employment and workforce development, we happen to believe in returning people back to work and restoring them in their proper way of life. And this is in collaboration with workforce development, and we will refer our clients to training, program, and employment opportunities, helping them to work towards a long-term stability and independence. On-site management accessibility, the shelter excuse me, will have both sites, site director and director of operations inside the facility. They will right around the block from the facility, there is a botanical gardens that's there. And we want to work with the organization that's working there and provide them with supplies, provide them with whatever they need, seeds, rakes, and maybe extending theirs out. But besides that, there is also right directly across the street an empty lot of Needham Avenue, adjacent to the homes. We want to do a beautification project there, and all we need is to find out who the owners are of that property, and possibly work with them. If it belongs to the city, then naturally we will do whatever we need to with the city to gain the ability to get into there. Next page, please. Hogar Incorporated is a new facility focuses on unmet needs in the Bronx, addressing lack of bilingual services and housing for monolingual Spanish clients, and tailored approach is coordinating care with local health providers and bilingual specialists. Next page, please. Hogar Incorporated has been providing bilingual and bicultural services to older adults for the past 27 years. In addition, our housing program, we operate our Hogar Senior Golden Age Clubhouse. As a matter of fact, on May 7th, we're having one in one of our centers at 835 Tiffany Street. We're having a celebration, which is open from Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 4:30. During these hours, seniors receiving nutrition, lunch, participate in recreational and social activities, and benefit from circle intervention, entitled assistance and housing services, and we also offer transportation to appointments when needed. Additionally, many of our seniors have found part-time employment and training opportunities throughout our day program. Next page, please. Our monolingual specialist congregate housing, successfully transforming clients into independent living since 1999, and support apartment programs is reducing psychiatric inpatient usage while fostering community integration. Oh, God help me, as you can read there from one of our workers, regain my life and independence. He's a former resident and now works with Ogal, as well as the gentleman underneath him, which is the staff treats me with dignity, respect, and at every turn, client success story is a client success story. The next page, please. Economic growth is job opportunity provided to quality community board 12 for quality, job opportunities provided to qualified community board 12 residents. The staffing pattern is as follows: one program director, one administrative assistant, one social service supervisor, one director of operation, 5 case managers, 3 housing specialists, 9 shift supervisors, 11 resident aides, maintenance, 1 driver, and 1 peer specialist. Orgal impact throughout the workshop focuses on skills development. Orgal fosters personal growth and encouragement, encourages community contribution, promoting a strong and resilient community. Orgal also collaborates with community partners, nonprofits, and businesses. As a matter of fact, we're now talking to, in the Hunts Point area, to Urban Health, who has a training program, and to get our clients in there to work with some of the clients from the community. And also enhance community resources. Next page, please. So join us in our mission to transform lives and uplift the community. Opportunities for collaboration and investment in our program. Together, we can create a more inclusive, supportive Bronx. Thank you. Any questions?
Okay, we're going to start with Clinton and then we'll move around.
I have a question.
Yes.
Thank you for your presentation. What I want to know is, how can you assure us that, and it's noble of you to be creating a shelter for senior women, how can we be assured that senior women are going to end up there? Because we've had this problem on numerous occasions in this community where it started off, the shelter started off housing one group of persons, and then it was a whole different group of persons once the shelter opened.
I mean, that happens because capacity requires it happens, and sometimes there's an influx of men who need to be housed, there's an influx of families with children that need to be housed, but we're committed to opening this shelter as a shelter for senior women 50 and older, or older adults 50 and older.
Older adults or older women?
Older women 50 and older.
So there's no assurances then that it's going to be?
It is going to
women
open as a single adult 50 and older shelter. I can assure you that at some point, 2-3 years down the line, that it'll change to something else. But it will open and is intended to be a 50 and older shelter for women.
Okay, I mean, that's a problem to the community, but I mean, I don't know if that's a you problem or a bigger DSS, DHS problem, but that always seems to be the situation when it comes to Community Board 12 and this district, that everything changes once the shelter opens. I mean, it happened with the Imperial Imperial Milk place on, what's that, 233rd Street, down the bottom. That was supposed to be a female shelter. They snuck men in there. So we never get any assurances.
I can't give you an assurance, but there is a need, particularly in the Bronx, for, I think you all noticed that seniors are having a hard time paying their rent. And so there's a need, absolute need, to build a shelter specifically for this population. So we intend on having it be what we said it would be, but I can't, unfortunately, say that it will be that for the entirety of the shelter.
No disrespect to you, but that's what they told us before, too. That's all I'm going to say.
I want to piggyback on what Brother Mike said, because I know exactly what he's referring to. And I know I got to watch what I say, but that property he's referring to, the DSS came, the people that are going to run came, they sang a good song, made it seem lovely. It was going to be for formerly incarcerated women. Fine, no problem. Not even a year, they turned it into a men's shelter. Not only did they turn it into a men's shelter, they housing sex offenders in there. 90% of the residents there are sex offenders. So I get what he's getting at, and I know you cannot make that commitment. That's what I was going to ask. You know, like, can you make a commitment that that's not going to happen? But I know you won't be able to do that. And it's just messed up that the Northeast Bronx starts off as one particular place that you guys sing to us and tell us it's going to be, and then it becomes something else. Especially when it comes to men that are sex-registered offenders that live in our neighborhoods. And when we confronted the people that did that, anyway, I'm going to keep my comments to myself. Thanks.
Okay, we go to Javed.
Hi, thank you. So I have a comment and then a question. So my first comment is I definitely err on the side of seeing the need for shelters, especially in serving the community for members that homeless people are community members. They are part of our community, whether or not people might always recognize them as that. So my main concern when it comes to shelters is making sure that they're effective at their job. Shelters are temporarily domiciles. They're not supposed to be permanent domiciles. And I think a big problem we have in New York City is we have a bunch of shelters that aren't adequately meeting this temporary status. And that, I think, is also what plays into people's distaste in shelters, right? People don't like shelters because they think that they bring crime, or they bring people in that stay for extended periods of time, or they might have a skewed perspective on what they are, right? So my question to you is asking you for a little bit of clarification for not just me, but for everyone, especially when you're doing these presentations, on exactly how, and maybe even bringing in peer leaders from your shelters to talk about the impact that your shelters have had on them, that has helped them benefit their life in a positive way. Because I don't think anybody knows or has ever seen an example of a positive outcome of a shelter. Everybody only knows the negative ones. So it's really important that you guys are sharing the positive ones, and peer leaders, people that you've selected that you know have actually benefited from your shelters and have done something. So that's my comment. And my question is, can you go into detail and tell us about all of the health services that you're going to be providing these women at these shelters? And that goes for mental health, and also, are the staff going to be equipped to handle any medical conditions these women might have? And again, just really building up a pathway for them to reintegrate into society and make shelters temporary domiciles.
Well, just first of all, to answer to that gentleman's question there, we don't take sex offenders in our program. No, we don't. We don't. We do background checks. I don't want to debate you, but okay. Now to answer your question, we are looking into your community to hire people from your community for them to be part of the staffing at this particular facility. And we believe that that's the best way to do it. Why? Because there's a lot of great models in this community, a lot of great models, and they could help a person. One person you help helps another person down the road. And
yeah, I understand that, but I'm talking about actual people who have been unhoused, speaking about that, positive examples of that, because that's really what is the biggest barrier to shelters existing in this community, is that, or any community over in New York City, people don't see the positive benefit of them because they don't think that they're doing anything. So if you can show the positive ones and then close those gaps on why other people in your shelters aren't actually reaching those same circumstances that the positive examples are, then you're going to get much more uptake. But the problem is we don't see that. We need those peer leaders, and we also need to close those gaps.
that's why we're having so many peer leaders in this particular building. We're having approximately 5 peer leaders, if I'm not mistaken, and several case managers. They're the ones that work with the residents every day, and they will make sure that they respond to what we ask them to. Not that there's any strong arming or anything like that, but we like to talk to them in the right way, and hopefully they can get the message.
I'm glad. Can you bring those peer leaders here? Bring them to the community board meetings when you go to. Not just hit this community board, but any community board you guys go to, bring those peer leaders there. Their perspectives are much more valuable. And no disrespect to you, but their perspectives are much more valuable than whatever a director or a program manager is saying. Because people don't care about who's saying how they made their program. They want to see the effects, and they want to see that it works.
Great, noted. We will take that under advisement.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I just want to piggyback on what he's saying. You know, and our concern is like, how do they become integrated into the community? That's one. And then two, what we all feel like is a revolving door. So are they really part of the community?
Well,
you know, I'm sorry, I
will...
just wanted to share. You know, and then there's a safety concern. Is there going to be a lack of resources? Are people going to be competing for the minimal amount of resources that we may have in the community? So again, those are all things at this point, like, you know, we can't change. We hope that it stays as a women's shelter, because that may be a preference, right? It feels a little bit, you know, for us maybe safer. And again, our goal is to work with you all. Like, peer leaders would be important, right? We understand you can't bring the actual residents because of privacy and confidentiality, but peer leaders that we can work with, and if there's any issues going on, a liaison, somebody that we can connect with.
Got it.
And we just have some more questions.
Can I respond to you, and can I respond to this gentleman?
Sure.
In terms of integration, many of the women that are going to be in this shelter are from this community. They've fallen on hard times, and you all know this, and they need a place to stay. So many will already have ties to the community. And then Hogar could speak to how the other ones will be integrated. But we also plan to have a community advisory board where we'll have select members of the community on the board and can offer assistance and advice and ways to better the shelter. But in terms of your question, people are in shelter for 9 to 12 months. They come in, they get stabilized, and then they get connected to resources, vouchers, and then they leave. I mean, I think everyone knows this, but New York City is faced with a 1.4% vacancy rate, 0.39% vacancy rate for deeply affordable housing. So people are falling on hard times, and they absolutely need shelter. So this shelter is going to provide them with the resources that they need to stabilize and to get back on their feet. But noted the suggestion that it would be best to have folks who have lived experience come into these meetings and tell you what success looks like.
And we appreciate you coming, because many times, you know, they don't come and speak to us, so we are appreciative of you joining us. I'm gonna go to Robert Hall.
Yeah, this is a two-pronged attack, and I'm listening to what my colleagues are saying, and I don't want to be redundant. However, we have shelters that consist of working-class people along with homeless people. So there are all types of shelters. So we've had our endeavor with regards to that, which is why you're hearing what you're hearing as far as Community Board 12. But what I'd like to suggest, because you mentioned something about an empty lot and you wanted to do some building there with some flowers, and maybe you can do that. But you're gonna have to include the neighborhood. The neighborhood, that's the key word, neighborhood. Get a neighborhood advisory board, which you did just mention, and get with them, and collectively, maybe you can grow and prosper in a unified manner. I think it's the best way to do this. And please let the community report back to this board with regards to your success or lack thereof, because that is what's virtually needed in the best interest of unifying shelters with people who need assistance, with crime, with all types of problematic circumstances. I yield. Thank you.
Okay. Any other board members? Any of our board members online? Any other questions? Any board members with questions? Etonia?
It's all right. We live? All right, cool. All right. Hey, I'm E, also part of Community Board. It's nice to see all of you again and meet some of you for the first time. All right, I just wanted to ask, how many residents do you currently have?
Currently, we have 13 programs with over 7,000 residents. We have 7 shelters. We have 2 HIV/AIDS programs in the Bronx. We also have 3 mental health programs that are funded by the Office of Mental Health. So we currently serve over 7,000 residents currently. Yes, the same services. Yes, social services. So we have program directors, we have directors of social services, case managers, and for this particular program, there will be a psych nurse practitioner, that will be there providing medication to those residents that, are suffering from mental health conditions and do need it. So, and in terms of our program directors, we always urge them to get out into the community, come to the community board meetings, meet, just people in the community that are involved and, just engage in any initiatives that might be happening. So we always push our directors to get out in the community and partner, linkage, and just extend that olive branch in order to make it sort of a joint partnership. And that way, everybody would feel comfortable. Yeah.
Okay. So you said it's going to be single, elderly. They're going to have children?
No, this particular site will just be single adult women over the age of 50.
And then are these people being transferred or referred from DSS?
Yes, they will be being referred directly from DHS, right?
DHS, okay. Yeah, because I know I've worked with a lot of families as preventive worker.
Right.
And I go to all the shelters. And the shelters some of them are beautiful, right? But what I'm noticing when I'm working with the families is, yes, they do for 90 days, and then they need those health benefits of HRA. So again, making sure that they have their food stamp and all that things in place,
yes,
right?
so that's one of the first things that, the case managers and the directors do when they're placed into the facility. They do intake. They find out what their needs are. Do they need, what entitlements do they need? What primary caregiver services do they need linkages to? Because that's really important. So entitlements and medical care is some of the first things that we look at. And then just trying to basically integrate them into the community, link them to resources in the community. And I think the whole point is just to, integrate them in a way that feels like they can be part of the community and sort of share, in just the day-to-day, just the day-to-day things, yeah.
And I know they say with the aspect of like employment, because I know you want to get people from the community. Everything is expensive.
Yes.
So I know the pay is going to really be crucial if a lot of people who are working as case managers, because we're all going everywhere else, but our community. Now, it'd be cool to be in our community if you could compete with Montefiore and all the other people, right? So it's like, just know that you have that component as well, because if you don't get somebody who's really understanding, like a great case manager, they do lackadaisical job. And I've worked with many ACS, all these, like some of them do lackadaisical job because it's different between purpose and then there's a paycheck.
Yes.
So it's like, how do we ensure that these people are passionate to really serve these women? Because at the end of the day, what I've noticed is I've helped a lot of families. We've got them out the shelter, and guess what? They come back.
Right.
Because nobody's really truly educating them about city FEPS. Because at the end of the day, if you go into now a housing development that's $2,000, $3,000 a month, my client missed a recertification, and now they're placed in Brooklyn. So now we're re-traumatizing these women who are not able. So again, mental health also is very important.
Absolutely.
So shout out to you guys for having that.
Yes.
And then I didn't notice that the security aspect. I know, is there going to be security on the premises?
Yes, we do partner with a security company. We contract a security company. We have security guards at all of our programs. They're 24 hours, and they, patrol the premises. They would patrol around the facility. They do rounds inside the facility. There's cameras, so they're watching the cameras, and so they're pretty on top of, just making sure that safety, is there.
Okay. Do they have the time limit, or are they kind of free? Do they have time limits to the shelter?
Yes.
Okay.
Everything is, there's rounds every hour on the hour. Usually there's like 2 security guards at a time, so where one can go off and do.
For the women, are they?
Yes, there will be a curfew. Yes, there will be a curfew.
Yeah. I mean, again, if you could kind of just keep it going, because I know there's a men's shelter not so far by Dyer, I think they have as well. So I'm looking at that as a way for them to integrate and like
Yes.
maybe something's going,
Right.
it's a special time because there's
In
needs.
terms of what you were talking about in terms of salaries and pay, human services is probably sometimes can be one of the most underpaid, jobs. There's a lot of work to be done, and I don't think there's enough money that we can pay. In the last 3 years, we have modified our salaries so that we can be competitive, and we want people to, love what they do, but also be compensated for that as well.
Yeah, because again, if you look at the statistics, like literally, there's not many college graduates over here. District 12 is also covered with a lot of skills based. So, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a lot of mental health professionals on this board, so there'll be ways that we can collaborate. And just make sure that we do have whoever the liaison person for us is. And I hear that Edward Papetti?
Papetti, yes.
Papetti would like to have a few words.
Thank you very much. Unfortunately, I'm having computer problems, so I may break out with the audio. I did want to respond to, let me see if I can get my video going as well, sorry. I did want to respond to, a very, I thought was valid comment about peer leaders. And I typed a message in that Gigi Quinones, who is our vice president of shelter services for the organization, herself was homeless. And she can speak to that. She was went through a homeless program. And this is the exact result of what you were looking for. She's now the vice president of our organization in this. We have other employees within our organization who, no fault of their own, came upon hard times and were in the shelter system. Did what they had to do, and now they're working for OGAR and helping other homeless people in the Bronx and other communities as well. I've seen some comments about just the Bronx. Well, we're in Queens, we're in Manhattan, we're in Brooklyn, and it's a partnership with the communities that we serve. I understand everybody's concern, and OGAR utilizes peers that can identify with members of your community to make this a successful program.
Thank you so
That's
much.
correct.
We'll be
And
inviting you back.
Yes, hi, how are you? My name is Gigi Quinones. I work as the vice president of HOGAR. I'm in charge of all the shelters under the DHS. One of the things that I want to say is that I was there one time in my life. I was homeless. And because of DHS, this is who I am right now. When they gave me a shelter, I worked through. I had an excellent team that worked with me, make me recognize and accept the fact that I can achieve whatever I need in life. Because of course, some of the people, they comes with a lot of baggage, a lot of issues. Some women, not every woman that goes to a shelter is because either they have been in drugs or something. Some of them, they need to leave their house. Some of them, they come with a lot of baggage in their life, and sometimes it's very difficult for us as women to come to reality. That was practically my case, and look, this is why I have so much passion when I work with the shelters. And when I'm in charge of the shelters, I work with the passion because I know that the goal is to help these women, help these families to go from A to B to C, which the last is housing. And it's very joyful when you see these families or these women moving into their own apartment. So I hope that we could have a partnership and we could all work together. And one of the things,
Gracias, Señora Quiñones. Thank you so much. We will invite you to come back to committee because then we have more time to have a more in-depth conversation with you. But thank you for sharing your story. I think at this point we don't have any other questions. We will invite you to come back. We're looking forward to working together. We hope it does remain a women's shelter for women 50 and over.
Thank you.
Thank
you
you
for your time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Board.
We do have to go into our training, but first we're going to have our council member, Eric Dinowitz. And thank you for being here. Just so that you know, we did reschedule our legislative breakfast.
Oh, good.
You were one of the ones that couldn't make it, so we hope you will. We're trying to reschedule it for the summer on a Saturday, so we really hope you can be there with us. But thank you for being here in person today.
Thank you. Of course, your legislative breakfast. I was celebrating Passover with my family, but to all of you here, I think most of you here, happy Easter, and also happy Earth Day. And I don't know if I missed other holidays, but happy everything. I wasn't going to start with this, but you know, sort of jumping off the shelter conversation. I have long said, as I think many of you have, the real thing we need is housing, and it has to be done with community input. We want more housing, we want to preserve housing, and we want to make sure it meets the needs of our community. Many of you know about the project Wakefield Village because they've come here to present. That project, we are continuing to speak with them, but just like you, perhaps the most important thing to me is hearing from the community. And so we are going to be having community input sessions for this specific project. It is very likely going to be May 19th, so put that little hold in your calendar. We're going to be sending out to the community board and on my e-newsletter when we solidify the date. We don't have a location, and it's going to be the developer presenting the plans, and we're working on doing things like setting up a website with survey questions. You know, what do you want to see in this project? What's important to you? And then I go back and work with them to make sure as many of those things that are feasible are included in the proposal. I think we're talking about something like 1,100 apartments. I know a lot of us here want to see parking. A lot of us here want to see green space, want to see family-sized units, want to see home ownership opportunities. We're talking about in this project some commercial space, playgrounds, things like that. But we want to hear from you. And so that's why we are setting this up with the developer and with the City Council land use team. So stay tuned to make your voices heard for this development. I was just a couple updates. I was in Wakefield at the Matilda Avenue School a couple weeks ago. I was there to hear a presentation and also to share with them that we allocated $100,000 to that school to provide them with technology upgrades. But one of the incredible things the kids did, they were maybe a dozen or so, fewer fifth graders, and they also presented to me some of the needs of their school. And just like all of you with housing, they said, you know what we really need? We really need new water fountains in our school. And so, and that's important to them. They want healthy drinking, I can move away, healthy drinking water that isn't dirty. They're not slipping on the water that's leaking. And I said, you know what, let me see what I can do. On the way back to my next event, I called School Construction Authority. They had someone there that day to assess the water fountain situation. And so I'm looking forward to, I'm going to keep you updated on this water fountain thing, but I think we're going to get some new water fountains at the Matilda Avenue School soon. But the important thing for all of you to know is that it's because of the advocacy of a bunch of fifth graders that they're going to get some other upgrades to their school. So that's very important to me for everyone to know that students can make their voices heard, and they do. We're having a shredding event in Woodlawn on May 17th. So all of you collectors of paper, my dad uses the word hoarding, I say collectors. Bring your old things that you may not want or your spouse doesn't want you to have anymore and take them, we'll shred them for you. We do our Wakefield Library office hours on the last Thursday of the month. That was today. But hopefully if you want to come by the Wakefield branch, it's the last Thursday of the month. We are there every month. And if you want to provide feedback for the budget, we are negotiating the budget right now. It's a tough one. As every year the mayor makes cuts, we in the council try to fight back against those cuts and make sure that you all have your voices heard. And of course, we provide discretionary funding for my office. And if you have particular things you want me to focus on in the budget, I encourage you to go to ericdinowitz.nyc/budget feedback. There you can provide budget feedback. A few bills that we recently passed scaffolding reforms. So if any of you live in buildings, you have local law 11 work done every 5 years. This is important, it keeps us safe, but it's also very expensive for buildings, and it keeps scaffolding up, which is not very pretty. So we did a few things about that. One, we said to begin with, the scaffolding can be prettier. It doesn't have to be that green color. They're going to come out with some design, the Department of Buildings is going to come out with some design guidelines, and they are allowed to be prettier. We're allowing for lighting, LED lighting in the scaffolding to better light it, make it look better. And I think in some circumstances to make the scaffolding a little higher. But the reason it's up in the first place, we did two main things. One is we said if you're one of those buildings, those bad actors that's just leaving your scaffolding up, instead of certifying every year that you need that scaffolding, you're going to certify 4 times a year every 90 days. And then going back to local law 11, instead of every 5 years, the Department of Buildings is going to make rules that says it's going to be at least every 6 years or at most every 12 years and give a little more breathing room between what's called facade inspections. And again, that's going to provide financial relief to a lot of buildings, and it's going to make our neighborhoods a lot prettier. And then today, as stated, I won't go through all the bills, but we did 2 bills reporting on community hiring and community benefits agreements, and one dealing with stormwater management and posting that online. And we also passed a number of bills related to transgender rights and information, health information for transgender individuals. And that is, I'm not going to read through all of the budget priorities we did. I know you have another a training, and so I will leave it there. As always, it's great to come here. I think, does Javid have a question? Yeah, I have a question. I don't know if is that allowed, Chair? Okay. Is it, why didn't I bring my screwdriver to fix the,
No, no, it's not that, but I do notice that every time you come. I think you're the only person who tries to use it, actually. All right, my question is pertaining to the Wakefield Village project. The reason why, the context behind this is that I agree that the solution to our housing crisis is building more housing, right? It's just logical. The problem that we're having is that, as everybody knows, we have developers that are more focused on profits than the people that are living within them. We also, it's beating an old drum. We all talk about this. It's about having actual affordable housing for who, et cetera, et cetera. When they have those presentations, I feel like a lot of people are sitting on their edge, waiting through the presentation just so they can get their word in and ask a question. And also, a big problem that I have with that is that it would be really helpful if we knew all of the things they were going to present on before they present on it. So that way we can become prepared to ask questions on the specific information they're going to be presenting. So that way we have context. Because learning everything within the span of probably an hour and a half presentation, which, let's be honest, those guys aren't the best presenters. They're going to be very boring, right? And they're going to be talking about things that we're interested in. And they might hide it in a lot of different language that a lot of people might not be, acute to and understanding of. So I'm asking if there a way for community boards and in general more people to know more information about the project, to demand that these developers provide more information about the presentations they're providing before they do it, so we're prepared to ask questions.
I love that question. It's the same thing I ask of our city agencies like the DOT when they come here and say, hey, we're removing all your parking, what do you think? And you're like, I just saw it. And let me just be very clear, the purpose of this type of community engagement is to engage the community. The presentation, at least for the board members, has been presented. And we can get a copy, we can probably send it out in our newsletter or put it on some website somewhere. Because the goal isn't to have them present things and shove it down your throat. The goal is to hear from all of you. The second thing is that it won't just be the developers. This is being organized in conjunction with the City Council land use team. And they are, I don't want to say like sides, their purpose is again to make sure a community, and I, as the person representing the community, has all of the information needed to make an informed decision, which you're not making at that meeting. You're just making, I think, suggestions so we can get to the conclusion. But again, the goal is to give you all as much information as possible so you can provide as much feedback. And again, this is for the broader community. It's not just for community board members. I would add just one little complication we have, which is build more housing. This is always a struggle. It's build more housing, but who builds the housing? It's developers. So there's always going to be that tension. That was one of the tensions with the City of Yes proposal that a lot of us in the council grappled with. And I would also say there are a number of vacant apartments that are being left vacant for various reasons. So there are other elements to the housing crisis besides just building more housing. Okay.
I just have a comment that aside from all the issues that we're speaking of, one that comes up for this particular board is infrastructure. With the storms that we're getting that are impacting our communities way more, home issues, damages, environmental. How a project so large, how is infrastructure being implemented? Are there studies that are being done? And then the second part is always schools. Whenever we talk of development, it's not just parking for us, it's also schools, especially with large projects.
Is this in tandem with that, or is this separate? Because I'll answer both at the same time, unless it's a separate question.
It's similar to what...
Okay, yeah.
When the builders first came to us, they were going to put up a school because there's 1,100 apartments going in there. It's going to be a large influx of children. And SCA said there was no way in hell they were going to let a school be built there because it doesn't deem it. But yet you take a look at PS 16, which has trailers in the playground housing children. So if you got 1,100 families moving in, I guarantee you maybe 20, 30, maybe even more percentage will have students. And where are they going to go? Into overcrowded schools. That's why the developer in the beginning said, we have a piece of land, we're going to build a K through 8 school. And SCA says, no, we don't need a school, we're not overcrowded. Yeah, but they're not planning ahead. When these people move in, where are the kids going to go to school?
So, I love that infrastructure isn't just stormwater, it includes all of the things we need in order to make a successful housing development. So I think a lot of these are really good questions and issues to bring up for the developers. Things that are very important to me that I'm going to push for is more green infrastructure to mitigate any rain and stormwater. As part of their development, they are, I believe, redoing some of the pipes to make them bigger. I'm not an infrastructure expert. With regard to the school, I can only right now relay what the SCA has said because I'm not their spokesperson and I don't want to, and I'm not the spokesperson of the developer. What I will say that they've shared is that in the early discussions, the developer said there was space for a school, not that the developer would build a school. And SCA recently has, I'm just sharing you what they told me, but I think these are important things because because I would say if the whole community says, well, we do want a school there, I think that's an important element of the discussion. SCA has said they don't want to build a school in that location. Now, I don't know what that means for building a school elsewhere in Wakefield. I don't know what it means in terms of the developer providing any funding for schools. I believe that these are all important elements of the conversation, but to make your voices heard, you and your friends and your family have to show up. Because I need to hear from all of you. That is the most important thing for me, is to make sure that you are all well represented, whether it's when I go to City Hall or when I speak to developers, or that they hear directly from you. That ensuring support for our children is important. That ensuring support to make sure we don't have any issues related to stormwater is important.
I'm the chair of the land use committee. So we've been on the developer from day one about this school. And anybody with a half a brain, maybe IQ of 40, I don't want to condemn anybody, would know better that we need a school when you're putting all these people in there with children.
Yes.
It's just like...
And I have a whole brain, so I could say I agree we need a school.
Well, I know you're a school teacher, so...
Yeah, well, and again, I can only share with you what I want to try to be as objective as possible and just say this is what SCA has shared with us. But the conversation's not over. This is not coming up for a vote yet. This is why we are having our community input sessions. And again, tentative date, May 19th. Location to be determined. We don't have one yet. And by the way, one of the things I didn't mention, I mention it every time, to make sure you know when things are coming up in the community, whether it's shredding. Everyone loves the shredding. By the way, I think more people will come to shredding than to the Wakefield Village conversation. That's my prediction. Right, okay. ericdinowitz.nyc/newsletter. And you can go right now, ericdinowitz.nyc/newsletter, type in your information, you'll get my e-newsletters, and then you'll see about all the bills we pass, all the events coming up, all of the schools I visit, all that stuff. We make sure you're informed. Right?
One other thing. Since 1980,
All right, Columbo.
No, since 1989, Woodlawn has been promised the expansion of the public library. Money was allocated to expand the library. Now it's 2025, I believe, and we still don't have an expansion of the library.
By the way, can I just say, to those of you who laughed at my Columbo joke, I appreciate you, and either your age or your age at heart. Now regarding I'm 39 and I watched Columbo as a kid. That tells you how my parents raised me. The Woodlawn Library, yes, it has been delayed. We do have a timeline, we do have a timeline for it. Off the top of my head, I don't remember, but I do believe it's within the next few years. We've gotten commitments that it will be built. And if you'd like, we can find out the exact timeline and we can get it over to the board for them to share with you. All right? But I will say the libraries are really important to me. We are fighting to get increased funding for our libraries, to get more 7-day service in more branches throughout the city. As far as I go, my discretionary funding in last year's budget, we upgraded the technology at every single branch in my district. And I have 7, which is more than any other, I believe more than any other council member in the district. And many of you know the borough president, Gibson, and I collaborated to provide Americans with Disability Act, or ADA, upgrades to the Wakefield branch right around the corner. So you have someone who cares deeply about our libraries and has made the investments, and we will get that timeline to you. Better make it a good one. A lot
it
of
could have
pressure.
been great if I knew you were coming, because I would have had a nice little thesis for you. But off the top of my head, one thing that I did want to ask, I know that you said about your bills that you pass and you want the feedback for it. Is that all bills, or is that pertaining to the ones that you would like, from the community, the surveys of that nature? Because I do notice that there are some bills that have been passed, but I don't recall having any type of feedback to give, or even know that that the community was a part to say like their way of that bill. And then my last question, which I think is very important, I was able to skim through your newsletter that comes through my email, the 311.
Yeah.
So our community has an issue with different departments, and a lot of times 311 is our filter. And everybody goes to 311 and nobody gets answers. So I think that a lot of community residents are very upset because they feel like it's lip service. Every time they come anywhere, the answer is call 311, and then there's nothing there. And I know that you have some type of bill for 311. I know that there were talks to maybe get somebody from 311 to come in to try to figure out like, what are we doing with everything? Because they are the buffer, but they're also the scapegoat at this point. And I think for the community, it will definitely help us get people to the right departments, the right people, to get the right answers, because people are going to get frustrated.
Yeah, and I'm certainly happy to help get a 311 person here, but just so everyone know, okay, no, just kidding, I can't do it. 311, I think, is more, if you think of it more like a call center, and not to demean, not to say anything, but they really connect you with the agencies. So what we're really talking about is whether or not the agency is doing the work and being responsive. And so I have a package of legislation related to 311, all centered on making 311 more accessible and more responsive and more efficient. I recently passed a bill which I think if anyone has had this problem, you've called 311, you've gone on the app, you've said, oh, the heat's off, this pothole here, someone's parked at a hydrant. You look at your phone 2 seconds later, and it says closed. And people come to my office and say, hey, this was closed. And I say, okay, we'll call the agency, and we'll help you out. But you should directly have the ability to provide feedback, and for that feedback to be somewhere. And so I did a bill, which is passed unanimously, of course, and it simply says if you call 311, once the case is deemed closed, you can provide feedback just like you can on any other app, like Uber, Uber Eats, Uber Skates. I don't know any other apps. You can provide feedback on how the agency did. And now, not only can you provide the feedback, there's an online dashboard. And what we're working on right now is making sure the community boards across the entire city have a training on this. And so you can see how to look at it. It's pretty comprehensive. The agency report card. How responsive is the Department of Transportation when given requests about potholes? How responsive is HPD when given heat complaints? These are all questions that you can provide feedback for and that can now be answered. I have other bills in the package that will dealing with duplicate responses. Sometimes cases are closed automatically because they're duplicates. No one tells you why it's closed. No one tells you it's a duplicate. No one tells you anything. I have a bill about that. I have a bill about GPS tagging. Now, when it comes to my bills that I'm drafting and authoring myself, certainly I have a lot more say in what those bills look like, and your feedback is critical. But even for bills that I'm not the prime sponsor on, I make my views known to the main sponsor, and I provide my feedback to them. And sometimes the legislation is changed based on the feedback of members just like me and just like Kevin Riley, my friend and colleague. So you should always be reaching out to my office and sharing your perspective on legislation or your questions.
We will.
Thank
and
you.
at our breakfast, we will have ample time with all of our elected officials to continue these conversations. I just don't want to lose my board members because now we have to go into a COI training.
Got it. Thank you all so much for the time. Appreciate it. Have an enjoyable ethics training.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Don't break the law.
Great. Okay, so now we're going to go into our COI training. Is our presenter here?
Yeah, yes, I am here.
Hi, Alex, and apologies for the last meeting. Take it away. Okay. About how long is this?
Oh, I think I can barrel through this in 20 minutes. Can I share some slides?
Yes.
All right. Let's see. One second. Share. Boom. All right, we are good. Yeah, everybody can see that? Yes? No? Madam Chair, you can see that?
Yes, we could see that.
Okay, awesome. Hey, friends, so I'm Alex. I'm from the New York City Conflict of Interest Board. I'm going to talk fast so that you can get to more important things. I'm going to give you like a 20-minute refresher on the New York City Conflict of Interest law. The law requires you get training once every 2 years. This 20 minutes is going to suffice for that, so up we go. We're going to do, this is all the stuff we'll cover. We're going to do real fast. I want to spend just a second or two about what the core functions are, and then we'll get into the details. The number one most important thing to remember is how do you use us? You call us for advice. You're not going to need this today. You're not going to need this tomorrow. Conflicts of interest questions don't come up that often. For you, they usually come up about like, when can I vote? When can I not vote? And we are there to give you advice on that. That's the way the law was set up is, hey, public servants sometimes get conflicts of interest questions. Nobody wants a violation. We want everybody to do the right thing. So we give people one-on-one, free, confidential legal advice when they've got a question about the law. And most of what you're going to cover for us, or what you're going to talk to us about, is going to be about, like, when can I vote? When can I not vote? The core function of the law, as was drafted 35 years ago, was part of this big charter reform movement in 86 to 88, is to just have this baseline code to help people deal with those rare instances where they're faced with an official decision, but making that decision would also entail some sort of direct effect on their personal private interest. And when those things happen, that's when they got conflict of interest, and they've got to be careful. And for you, that means don't vote on things where you got a conflict of interest. This is taken right from the law's preamble there. You see there, it's intended to promote public integrity by removing any sort of conflicts between public duties, private interests. This is what the Conflict of Interest Board does. We got a training unit. Who cares? I'm the leader of the training unit, the director. Not that important, but more important is the advice. The advice is really the one-on-one place where you come when you've got a question and we give you an answer. And the way it works is super simple. You call us 9 to 5 or you go to our website anytime and you get the advice. Now, everything is free. We know what that means. Everything's also confidential. What does that mean? That means when they wrote the law 35 years ago, they said the number one important thing Conflict of Interest Board is going to do is give advice. We don't want there to be any barriers. And so we're going to make all those advice conversations between you and us confidential. We can't share even the fact that you called us for advice with anybody else in the world. Now, we will always give you a copy of what we say. And then if you want to blab to the world about the advice that you got from us, great, that's your choice. But we can't do that legally. Now, in getting the advice, there's one big caveat to that confidentiality, which is this. In life, not just in conflict of interest, but in life, when do I want to ask for advice? Before I do the thing I've got a question about, because if I do a bunch of stuff that breaks laws and I ask for advice, that's not advice. That's a confession. So don't do that, right? We don't. Right? You got call us before. Call us before. You know, hey, I took all these bribes already. What do you think? Like, too late, right? So call us. All right, that doesn't come up. People don't ask for advice on bribes, but they do ask for advice on all kinds of things. Like, we got offered a gift. Can I vote on this thing? My firm wants to represent a client before this board. How does that happen? We'll give you the answers confidentially. Okay, the other reason why people call for advice is because they want to not have an enforcement case. We have had some community board enforcement cases, not that many. I might mention a couple here or there, but just to say we don't want to have any enforcement cases, and we think we can prevent them by just getting you timely, confidential advice. Now, a fine could go up to as high as $25,000 for one violation. It could even be prosecuted by a DA, glad to say. No one's ever been criminally prosecuted at a community board for conflict of interest violation, so let's keep it that way and get that advice. Now, I want to start off before we do voting on political activities. I know there's a big election year because we don't do our elections in the same year they do the feds. It's like we're back to back, right? So all the local stuff is happening. And I know that there are community board members who are running, which is fine. The basic rule is just keep it out of the community board. You don't use the community board time, computer, agenda, letterhead, email to promote any election campaign, not one's own or for anybody else. In the same way that a community board does not endorse a candidate, right? Now, a community board, of course, is going to talk about policies, and it's going to talk about proposals, and all of that is fair game, but it doesn't get involved in partisan electioneering, saying, hey, vote for this candidate, or vote to re-elect this person. That's something a community board does not do, and it's also something that a community board member does not do with community board staff, or resources, or time, or letterhead, or any of that stuff. Okay, now, one other thing about political activity is that we also don't ask anyone that we've got juice over, very technical legal term there, as a public servant to donate to a campaign. So you got some bar owner who's coming for a liquor license application, re-up, whatever, you don't ask them for a donation to a political campaign. The other thing on the right here you see is that superiors and the board staff, the community board staff, like the district manager and all those other people who report to the district manager, they are your subordinates. And you can't ask those people to do anything in terms of a campaign. You can't ask them how to vote. You can't ask them to go to a rally. You can't ask them for money. You can't ask them. That's been in the law for as long as there's been a conflict of interest law. Now, don't worry about that because there's no policymakers on this call today. You can endorse. Don't do it with city letterhead. Don't do it on city time. Now, let's get into the big thing, which is the discussions and the voting. You'll notice one is green and one is red. So here we go. Discussions. Basically, you can always participate in a discussion. Even if you have a conflict of interest, you may participate in the discussion. But in order to participate in the discussion when you have a conflict, you must disclose your conflict. When do I disclose it? Do I disclose it next year? No. Do I disclose it after the vote? No. Do I disclose it at the top of the meeting before I talk? Yes, that's when I do it. And then I am free to participate in the discussion as long as I have disclosed my conflict. But you'll notice that voting is in the red. So here we go. I may not vote when I have a conflict of interest, The end. We're done with the training. Just kidding. Don't get up. Don't get up. I'm just kidding, because now we got to define a couple of terms. Yeah, but what's a conflict? Well, a conflict is when voting on an issue would result in a direct benefit or mitigation of loss to an interest of yours or to an interest of an associate. Now, what's an associate? That's a legal term of art. Oh, the end. No, it's not, because we got to determine what an associate is. An associate is a close relative, like a child, parent, sibling, domestic partner, spouse, or anyone with whom I have a financial relationship. So my employer, my client, my not-for-profit, if I sit on the board of the not-for-profit, a roommate, a landlord, a tenant, a creditor, a debtor. These are all the people I am associated with. So I can't vote on something if the result of the vote is going to be a benefit to me or benefit to any of those kinds of people. And here we just kind of listed them out there. I'm going to keep moving to go fast. So we talked about what's an associate. Now, what's not an associate? Everything else, right? So you'll see this list: cousin, uncle, aunt, friend, whatever that is, like Facebook friend, which is like probably not your friend, right? Probably not even a human at this point, but dude you knew. These are not close enough relationships to trigger an association, which would require you to refrain, because you wouldn't be qualified to vote on an issue. So, for example, if your cousin comes in for a vote on for a zoning variance, can you vote on his or her zoning variance? Absolutely, you can, unless it's a cousin you live with or a cousin you owe money to, because cousin falls outside of the realm of associate for the conflicts law, and so does friend, which I know is weird because some of us were closer to some friends than we are to our close relatives, maybe. But friend is just very hard to define under the law. And one of the goals of the Charter Revision Commission in 80/60/88 was to have a crystal clear law so they could have consistent enforcement and consistent advice. And friend is just too hard. Like, how do you define friend? Like, friend, how many of us have them? Right? But it's hard to say, right? Sometimes, you think you're a friend, they don't think you're a friend, whatever. So friend is not in there. So can you vote on your friend's liquor license application? You can't, unless it's, you're his business partner or her business partner. Now, the whole key to understanding this is I can't vote where there's a direct economic gain to me or an associated party. So let's do an example here. I didn't always want to just be a conflict of interest training director for the city of New York. I had dreams, and I may have dreams again, and one of them is to own a tiki bar. Boom! Owning a tiki bar. I don't like people, though, so it's just a takeout tiki bar. We'll see if that works as a business model. Now, I'm also a community board member, let's say. And the question is, can I vote on my own liquor license application when it comes before the committee that's going to make the recommendation to the SLA? And the answer is no, you dummy. Of course you can't, because that's your own liquor license. I disclose, hey, that's my bar that I own, then I'm free to discuss. Please re-up my liquor license. We're a great bar. And then I do not vote on my own liquor license. But remember, it's direct. And so it's my bar, that's direct. Now, this poses an interesting question when we think about direct in terms of the way the law's been structured. Because what if somebody wants to open up a bar right next to mine, another tiki bar right next to my tiki bar? Same sign, too. I'm kind of mad about that. But look, can I vote on that person's liquor license application? I can, because I do not own that bar. There's no direct effect on me. Now, you might say, well, maybe if he opens up a bar, you get less business or more. But we don't know. We have no idea, right? It's too attenuated to precipitate disclose, discuss, don't vote because I got a conflict. So you can vote on somebody else's liquor license application, not your own, as long as you don't own their bar. So disclose, discuss, don't vote. Now, another example. Let's say I sit on the board of MoMA for design chops, obviously. There, I'm not being paid to sit on the board of a not-for-profit. Almost always that's true. But because I sit on the board, I do have legal obligations to that not-for-profit as a fiduciary, and therefore I'm going to disclose, discuss, don't vote. So when we meet, the community board meets, say, hey, we want MoMA to be funded more for blah, 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 then I just disclose, discuss, don't vote. Third issue, big one. Everybody who's got a government job, listen up. You work at DOE, you work with transportation, you work for the feds, you work for the state. If some request from the committee or from the community board is going directly to the government agency you work at, then again, you're going to disclose, hey, I work at that agency. You're then free to discuss, and then you do not vote on that issue. Why? Well, because if I work for, let's say, the Department of Ed, right? I'm a DOE teacher. And now I sit on the community board. DOE's paying me to work 40, 50 hours a week. They're my primary employer. And the votes of the community board are supposed to be untainted by outside interest. And if I vote on something related to my city agency, it kind of feels like DOE's got a man on the inside. So I just use disclose, discuss, don't vote. And DOE is a good example because, you know, I'm in the Bronx. Let's say I teach in Manhattan. I got nothing to do with Bronx schools. That does not matter, right? I don't vote on DOE things. Why? Because I work for DOE. Same thing if I worked at DOT, and now we want DOT to come in and put in a speed bump. I can sure talk about it after I disclose, but I don't vote on it because I work at DOT. And the other thing too is, let's say DOT wants to send somebody out to present to the community board about why you're not getting a speed bump, maybe because the street's a bus lane or whatever, right? I had that problem on my street. A lot of drag racing going on, but nothing to be done, I guess. In any case, my point is that when DOT needs to make that presentation, they don't have me do it, right? That might be convenient for them, but no. When I'm a community board member, I'm always the community board member. I don't confuse everybody going like, hey, just wait while I put a different hat on and come back and now I'll represent a city agency. No. Have somebody else do that. All right, so now we've exhausted that teaching point. So it's like any government job you can think of. You work at the post office, don't vote on a post office thing. You work at CUNY Graduate Center, don't vote on a CUNY thing. You get the idea. Okay. Now, disclose, discuss, don't vote. You see the theme, right? It's always the same behavior, even though the conflicts could be different. Now, let's talk about chairing. Chairs can have a conflict like anybody else. No big deal. They're going to disclose, discuss, don't vote. But one thing about being a chair is that when you are the chair and you've got let's say agenda item 3 for this night is where I know I'm going to disclose, discuss, don't vote as the chair. Guess what? I'm not the chair, not just for that issue, but for the entire meeting. Why? Because as the chair, as you know, you have a little power to set the agenda, and so we want that to be untainted, and so I will not be the chair for that entire meeting. Same thing for committee chairs, right? You can be on any committee, and if you're a committee chair and you got to use the 3Ds, you can't be chair of that entire committee meeting. Now, one else thing to think about is, let's go back to that DOE example. I can be on the youth services or the education committee, whatever you call it. That's fine. I probably can't be the chair. Why? Simple. Because every time that committee talks about a DOE thing, which is going to be all the time, I can't be chair anyway because I got to use the 3Ds. Remember, I got to step down for the entire meeting. So it wouldn't make any sense for me to be the chair of that meeting. And that's also true for private sector. Like, let's say there's a land use committee and I am an architect. Could I be on the land use committee? Absolutely. That might be a good fit because I know a lot of stuff about land use. But if I've got a lot of clients that are coming before that land use committee all the time and I got to use the 3Ds, disclose, discuss, don't vote, more than 3 times in a 12-month period, I can't be the chair of that committee. So call us for advice if you have something where you're like, I don't know, I'm not sure what that means or whatever, and we'll walk you through it. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory. Now, vote tabulation. We're getting close to the end of this, folks. Just bear with me on a couple more things. So here we go, vote tabulation. Now, conflicts do not affect quorum. So let's remember, quorum is 50% plus 1. We got quorum tonight. Good job, everybody. So let's say in a typical board meeting, there's 50 members and 26 people show up. We got a quorum tonight. Hallelujah, we're doing some business. Okay, now, normally when you want to pass an issue and you've got 26 eligible votes in the room, you have to have more yes votes than the combination of no's and abstentions in order to pass. So in a 26-member quorum, you're going to need 14 yes votes to pass an issue. But let's suppose now that 3 people have conflicts of interest, right? So 3 community board members have conflicts of interest. That means that the number of eligible votes in the room has gone down for that issue. So these people are going to disclose, discuss, don't vote. But then those 3 people also, they cannot vote no, they cannot vote yes, they cannot abstain. So there's only 23 available votes in this room, which means the number of yes votes that you need to pass that issue has changed. It's now 12, right? Because it's 50% plus 1, 23%, 12. Majority of the votes in the room are yes, and it would pass. So when so that just explains that. And then when you're, I messed up my slide here, but when you're eligible to vote, you can vote yes, you can vote no, you can abstain. When you are ineligible to vote because you got a conflict of interest, you can't vote yes, you can't vote no, you cannot abstain, right? You cannot, and the number of yes votes is going to change depending on the count there. So I would suggest, you're probably doing this already, but I would suggest if you've got someone who has a conflict of interest, don't list them as abstaining, right? That's confusing because abstaining is only something that someone can do when they are eligible to vote, because abstaining is essentially a no vote, right? You count it with the no's against the yeses to see if the thing passes. So call it something else, ineligible vote due to conflict of interest. Okay, other topics. Do you know who I am? Probably not. I work at a small agency. Why would you know who I am? I'm nobody. But all I'm saying with this is that phrase, do you know who I am, is always best left in the head, right? Don't say it out loud. Like, do you know who I am? I'm a community board member. So give me free stuff. Give me easy treatment. Let me off of this ticket. Whatever is not something we should say out loud and not something we should do even implicitly. Just, we don't misuse our power to get a private advantage. Use your inside your head voice when you're thinking about doing that. Okay, now gifts. If you work for city agencies, my friends, you know this, there are robust rules on gifts. Like, I'm not supposed to take gifts from anybody doing business with the city. That's a little crazy when we think about you, community board member, right? You're part-time, you've got a life outside of this, unlike me. And so I think what the rule really means for a community board member is when people offer you stuff because of who you are as a community board member, you refuse it. I think that's what this means. So I'm going to give you two examples, right? And they're right here. One is a community board member. For a long time, he's been a regular at the Dino's. Weird name for a bar, the Dino's. It's in his neighborhood, and occasionally the bartender buys Juan around. Can the bartender continue to comp Juan a drink occasionally when he's a community board member? Yes. And you know why? Juan, you're not special. I'm sorry. But listen, the bartender's probably doing that. They probably don't even like you. They're doing it for more tips, right? That's all they're doing it for. So they do it to anybody. They do it for you. There's no issue. But let's not change it around to the red zone down here. One, there's the North Star is a new eatery, and they need a liquor license application before the community board. And now they've invited Juan to a free, yummy, fact-finding mission to sample their wares. That's a thing where Juan's got to pay his own way. He can't take that free gift. And this is an actual case, sort of. Like in the meatpacking district in Manhattan, there was a community board member who, there was a club down there, I think it's closed now. It was called Soho House, a club I had never heard of. That was featured in Sex and the City, a show I have never seen. But apparently very fancy pants, as a lot of stuff is down there these days. And they need a liquor license application, and so they essentially bought this community board member a couple of dinners and then gave him a free membership for a couple of years at this club, and that ended up being a several $1,000 enforcement case. So there's an enforcement case there. Okay, like I said, when you're DOT, if you're a DOT employee and DOT needs somebody to represent them, it's not you because you're the community board member. Same thing on the private sector. Let's say you're an architect, a lawyer, an engineer, an accountant, a lobbyist, or whatever. If your client has something before the community board, you've got to disclose, discuss, don't vote, because that's the client, right? But also, if they need a representative, it can't be you, because you're the community board member. And if someone else from a firm that you're a partner in, like a law firm or whatever, you're a partner there, like say you got a LLP with another guy or whatever, right? If your partner is going to represent your client before the community board on which you sit, not only do you have to use the 3 Ds, you got to get a waiver from COIB for that to happen. Now, could a waiver be supported? Yep. But a waiver is a public document. It's got our signature on it. You need a waiver if your firm that you own is going to represent a client back to the community board on which you sit. So that just explains what I said. So let's keep going because we're almost done. No financial relationship with community board staff. You can't get into a financial relationship with George Torres. You can't loan him money. You can't hire him. You can't be his lawyer. That's what the conflict of interest board laws say. No political solicitation, as we talked about, of the community board staff. Okay, and now there was this period during the Corey Johnson years when community boards were getting money directly to give to entities. I don't know if that's happening anymore. If it is happening, just remember this. If the community board wants to award some money or buy things from a community board member, right? Let's say like I'm a deli owner and the community board's like, hey, we need to cater this event. Why don't we just go with Alex's Deli? He's right here. Everybody loves it. If that was to happen, I would need a waiver as a community board member, right? And this is kind of like what you think about in like non-for-profit sector, excess benefit transactions, that kind of thing. It's that kind of vibe. But I'm going to tell you right now, I don't think a waiver is going to be supported. You can ask, it's free to ask, and there's no penalty. but it's kind of crazy. I mean, how many delis are there in New York, in the Bronx? And you got to go with this guy's deli? I mean, look, I am from a small town called Manhattan, and I mean small, Manhattan, Kansas, right? Tiny place, the Little Apple, they called it. And when I grew up there in the 70s, there was one grocery store, the Dutch Maid, they called it. And maybe if the community, maybe you got to buy it from there if there's only one. That's not true in the Bronx. It's not true in New York City. So I don't think this is going to happen. The waiver would be supported, but you can ask. You can ask. Okay, and now, okay, so waivers, blah, blah, blah. Last thing here is just if you're seeking a job with a private entity and that entity now has a matter before the community board, you got to use disclose, discuss, don't vote, right? So let's say, like, I don't know, Montefiore is going to hire you and they're talking back and forth, like, you know, you're going on interviews and they're considering you, then you wouldn't vote on a Montefiore thing while you were being considered, right? Okay, so let's now do, oh, and then once you leave the community board, you can come back the next day, you can participate in the public gallery session, that's fine, you advocate for yourself, talk about what's important to you, but for 1 year, what I can't do is I can't be somebody's paid representative back for the community board upon which I formally served. So I can't be somebody's paid lawyer, lobbyist, architect, whatever. I can come back and talk on my own behalf for free, but I can't represent clients for a year. And this does come up. This is a finance guy. He left to go work in tax prep on the private side. He made a bunch of calls on behalf of clients within the first year, $5,000 fine. So we have seen it. All right. I'm sorry I took up so much time, but here we are at the end. So, friends, don't worry if I went too fast and you're like, I'm not sure, I need some clarification. Great. You know where you're going to get it? You're going to get it one-on-one. So if you are nostalgic for the telephone, you can call us up on that number. No robots there, except maybe the phone menu to get to the human. We'll talk to you 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. You could also write us a letter. I mean, wow. You can, I mean, that's weird. That's nope. I mean, that is a weird thing to do these days. But we would love that. Or you can just go on the website and there's a big fat button on the left-hand side that says Get Legal Advice. Type in your question whenever you want and we'll get back to you the next day, probably. So it's fast, it's friendly. I know you don't need it every day. You don't have to remember all this stuff. We'll remember it and we'll give you guidance quick, fast, friendly. You just got to call us to get the ball rolling. And with that, just the last thing I want to say is, remember how I talked about, should have done this earlier. Remember I talked about, like, if I sit on the board of a not-for-profit, I can't vote on something if the funding request is going direct, or the whatever request is going directly, it's going to directly affect my not-for-profit, right? But let's talk about another thing where you don't have to worry about disclose, discuss, don't vote. Let's say I sit on the board of a not-for-profit, my not-for-profit's really interested in health for little kids. The community board is voting on some issue saying, hey, DOHMH, spend some more money on health for little kids. My not-for-profit thinks that's a great idea. The money's not going to go to us, so there's no direct benefit to my not-for-profit, but we do think that you guys should vote yes on this because we think that's really important. You don't need to use disclose, discuss, don't vote, because it's, again, that direct idea, right? Direct to the thing that you're tied to is where you got to use disclose, discuss, don't vote. And with that, my friends, I have finished, I promise, and I'll
thank
turn it back
you.
Over. Yeah, thank you. And
Alex,
Madam Chair, with if you've got no
Alex,
questions,
thank you for providing entertainment tonight. We appreciate it. Thank you for keeping us on our toes. And if you could send us the PowerPoint that you just shared, that would be great.
I've got a handout I'll give to George. It's a little bit better than the PowerPoint because it's just like a couple of pages that summarizes everything. I'll send it to him tomorrow, okay?
Thank you so much. Have a great night.
Bye. Great.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Alex, I had a question for the board.
Oh,
yes,
okay.
Thank you. We're going to have you come back. Our board members say that they appreciated it and liked it.
Okay.
Alex, the question on the disclosed, whatever, the triple Ds.
Yeah.
Just so that board members understand, when you recuse yourself, that's what you're talking about, right? And don't vote.
That is correct, right? So if I've got a conflict of interest, I say, hey, I got a conflict of interest. This is what it is, and now I'll participate in the discussion according to parliamentary procedure. And recusal is not a bad word because it's not abstain. So that's why I like that word.
Yeah, just so that our board members, because we've had board members use the recuse. I recuse myself, but they've never, or they don't discuss why they're recusing themselves. And this is, you have to.
Yes, that is correct. If you're not entitled to vote because of conflict of interest and you want to participate in the discussion, you have to disclose the conflict. Now, if you don't want to participate in the discussion, you don't have to disclose. You just can't participate, right?
All right. Thank you, Alex.
Yeah, thank you. Take care, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you. We'll see you again. Okay, now we're going to wrap up the elected official representatives. Alina?
Good evening, everyone. Alex actually does conflict of interest training for us, too. He is phenomenal. I know he goes fast, but I just called them, and they called me right back, so I do want to concur that that does work really quickly. Hi, good evening. Alina Dow, Bronxborough Director for the Mayor's Office Community Affairs. I have some good announcement that Mayor Adams wanted to make sure that we shared with you. $167 million was allocated to the early childhood education for New York City, focused on expanding the access to 3K and also making sure that we have special education seats for the pre-K. I have 2 children with disabilities, so I do know how important it is and how hard it is to get kids with special needs into pre-K when they were little like that. In addition, I know you heard the councilman speak about the sidewalk shed bills that he and the council put forward. The mayor also had Get Sheds Down initiative, and that initiative is really to target and go after the people that are keeping the sidewalk sheds up to evade from fixing the problem. So that has been something that has been habitual. We see sidewalk sheds that has been up for 6 years, and they put in a permit saying that something was falling down. 6 years later, they're still just keeping the sidewalk shed up because they don't want to actually fix the problem. So the mayor really wants to get and address those people that are utilizing the sidewalk shed as a way to get away from fixing problems and giving them fines and making sure that they get the job done. And that was that time frame that he was speaking about. So no, you don't have a year. Now you have a few months to say, okay, this is not just needing an extension, but we're getting it done. So I know that that will be something that a lot of people are happy about, because I get calls all the time about that not being a safe place because people use them as different means. In addition, there is a Q team. Q team is a quality of life. That's a pilot program that the mayor has put forth in the 40th precinct. We call our officers for everything. Quality of life now actually really going to be something that our officers are going to be able to tackle. It's still being worked out. All of the details are not fine-tuned yet, but we're hoping that this is something that can roll out in all the precincts. And when we call an officer to address, the noise or trash, that they'll be able to probably work closer with a particular agency to get it addressed.
Alina, and I do want to just share something, because this district was categorized as the noisiest.
Yes.
So, and as I mentioned to you earlier, I have asked George for support with that as well, but the board would like a meeting with that division. We understand that as a pilot program, but we would like to be considered for the next phase.
Definitely. I'm going to make sure that we're going to follow up on the meeting tomorrow probably, and I'll just see how that can be arranged. And I did want to share that composting. This has been at every single community board. I think the whole world, the New York City, is confused about it. The mayor heard your concerns. So right now, the fines are on hold. I'm not saying don't continue composting, don't continue educating yourself about what composting is and how it's supposed to be done, but the fines associated have been put on hold until he's going to get more education and people out to sort of train, and so that people and homeowners and landlords and everybody can understand how to work through it better. And then last but not least, I did just want to share, there is also a free lead pipe fixing in your home. So they have some homeowners right now that have lead that are coming through their pipes, not through the city. From the city to the building, it's lead free. They can guarantee that. But in your building, from the building into your faucet, there are people that have lead pipes. So DEP, the city has a program where they will come into your home for free and test. And some homes are actually able to get them. They will replace them if you're able to, if you fit in the criteria. So I will follow up with, I'll make sure George has it so you guys can find out about the program. Other than that, I'm going to be here all night, and good to see you all. Oh, question? Hi. How are you?
Hi, Alina.
Hi.
So the question I have is because I had read that the fines were seized for apartment buildings that were under 30 units. So now is this for everybody that the fines are being held?
Yeah, I was told that it was for everybody because everyone is having a problem. So, but I mean, you could follow up with me just to make sure, but I'm almost sure that was something that was frozen for everyone. I have people, whether they're homeowners, no one understands this program. So it's a big thing.
Well, the problem is sanitation, putting the compost in with the regular garbage.
I've heard a lot of different situations, and I think that's why it's sort of was just, the mayor was like, okay, let's roll back for a second so that it could be more education put on.
Okay.
Anything
Thank
else?
you.
Yes?
Real quick, does he have a definitive date of when they're going to resume the fines?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet. But you know, I try to give you guys as much information as always. So when we do find out, if I find out first, I'll let you guys know. Hopefully it'll be something that looks a little. The structure probably is going to look different moving forward, though. Any other questions? Oh, I did want to say too, I know that 311 is, you know, it might not be the best system, but I will tell you that that is a system that is actually beneficial to constituents, to us, right? Because there is no other way to track that you reported anything. I promise you there isn't, because you can send me an email and it could be deleted, or it could go into spam and I never get it. You could tell your district manager and they might forget. But when you call 311 and you get your complaint number, no one can say that you didn't report it. So that is really the reason why 311 is in place, and I always advocate for everyone to utilize 311 for your accountability, right? Because they'll say, oh, no one ever called and complained about this pothole that's been there for 6 months. Oh, no, I did. I called in January, and then it's still there in June. And here's the complaint number to prove it. And that's where that bill that he was putting in goes forth with, did the agency address it when the complaint came? So, yeah. So, but keep the complaint numbers because it proves that you did it. So. That's it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. Okay, Andy.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Andy Turcios from Councilmember Riley's office. I'm going to try to speed things along. I'll start with events. Tomorrow at Community Board 12 at 5 o'clock, there's going to be a candlelight vigil for the deceased family in the Wakefield area for Lisa Cotton and Nazir Million. It's an unfortunate situation. It's going to be happening here at Community Board 12. It's going to be a candlelight vigil at 5 p.m. This Saturday, April 26th, at the Northeast Bronx YMCA, they're hosting a Healthy Kids Day. It's going to be taking place from 11 a.m. to 2. It's going to be this Saturday from at 1250 East, 229th Street. There's going to be a food distribution on Saturday, May 10th, called Voices to End Hunger and Grassroots Grocery Food. This is going to be taking place on May 10th at also Community Board 12 from 12 to 3 p.m. And this is May 10th. So Team Riley and New York City Parks is hosting a youth soccer tournament. This is going to be taking place May 10th, May 17th, May 24th, and May 31st, all at Hafen Park over by Hammersley Avenue and Gunther Avenue from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And then we're going to have our annual Shoelace Park Family Fun Day, May 17th at Shoelace Park from 222nd Street and Bronx Boulevard from 12 p.m. to 4 p.m. And just to circle back, the youth soccer tournament takes place from 9 a.m. to 3. And as a reminder, constituent service, we have a New York State Unclaimed Fund claims filing every first Thursday, either in Co-op City or at our office in Gun Hill Road. We have our Veteran Advocacy Project at Post 871 every fourth Thursday. So anyone that you know as a veteran or has any families that are veterans, please tell them about our service so they can partake in that. And then, of course, our Family Justice Clinic with Urban Justice Center, with Domestic Violence Project. It's completely a referral base. So anyone that knows anyone that has any issues in family justice, please refer them to our office so we can try to see how we can be of best of assistance. Legislation. So these are about 3 different bills that I would like to keep in mind. Intro 0643, Resolution 802, and Intro 82. So Intro 0643 establishes connections between New York City Parks and New York City Public Schools. There's actually a committee hearing about it yesterday. This is Councilmember Riley's bill that basically is a collaboration between the 2 agencies, between New York City Parks and New York City Public Schools, to create a contingency plan in case of inclement weather to minimize disruptions to youth programming. We put a little spin to it and called it Indoor Hoops Act. And it's a bill that was heard yesterday, and we're really excited about it. Now, Intro 802, which is also a bill with Councilmember Riley, Sanchez, and Juan, brings forth a support of a state bill requiring building owners to be found responsible for a fire that results in a vacate order to cover the cost of temporary housing for displaced tenants until repairs are completed. this only is supposed to really incentivize building owners to really be on track of any of the issues in their building, so that they can try to fix it before something like that unfortunate happens, and it just creates like kind of like a more of a contingency plan for tenants so that they don't become displaced by fires. And then the last bill is Intro 82, which is Councilmember Riley's gun violence bill. I did bring petitions here, so if you guys want to sign in to kind of show your support for it, I would greatly appreciate that. And then lastly, our participatory budgeting vote week did end, and we will be announcing what the project that was voted on later in the spring. And I think that's it for me. Oh, yes? Okay, no problem.
And they typically send it the next day, right? You send like a summary of all your notes.
I would like to say that I'm trying to be better at that, but yeah, I'll
Please,
do
because we have Etonia doing our minutes today, so any information that you could send her would be great, because that was a lot of information to capture.
Of course. So I'll get that done to you tomorrow, okay?
Thank you so much.
No problem, thank you.
Etonia, and any backup you need, we're gonna support, and I'll forward you presentations and stuff. We got you. Let's give a round of applause to Tony again for helping us with this. Thank you. Okay, we're trying to wrap up this portion. Ronell or Raichel, before we close this portion, would you like a few minutes?
Yes, hello?
Yes.
Hi, sorry, I can't see it on my screen, so I'm not sure if you guys could see me. Okay, now. Hi, my name is Rochelle. I'm one of the constituent services liaisons for Congressman Richie Torres. I have some quick announcements for this month. The first one is Rep. Torres is introducing the Rescue Act, which requires U.S. actions when countries refuse to return individuals who were wrongfully deported by a court order. This applies to U.S. citizens, green card holders, asylees, refugees, TPS holders, and more. So some of the penalties for this bill is that visa bans for foreign officials, terminations for diplomatic agreements, and suspension of trade and aid. Another announcement is that Congressman held a press conference last month, March, with the Bronx Environmental Group to protest the illegal termination of EPA grants under the Trump administration. So this is something that Mr. Torres is emphasizing, the Bronx health and environment being defunded, so he is against that. And lastly, on Monday, April 28th, the House will vote on the setting consumer standards for lithium battery act. And that is for the safety standards and protection of consumers from defective batteries. And that was sponsored by Richie Torres.
Great. If you could send that in to us as well via email, that would be great.
Yes.
Ronell, thank you so much. Raichel, I hope I said your name right. Raichel, thank you. Ronell?
Hi, my name is Ronell from State Senator Jamal T. Bailey's office. We had our food distribution yesterday. We have it the last Wednesday. Yes, the last Wednesday of every month. We also have an event coming up. Give me 1 second.
While you're looking up your notes, we do just have a note for Senator Bailey. We do have our legislative breakfast coming up, and he was one of our elected officials that was not able to make it. So we rescheduled it for the summer, so we do hope he joins us. Thank you.
Okay, I'll make sure he gets that message. So we have our Taste of the District. It's one of our biggest events of the year. It'll be held May 3rd from 1 to 4 at the Northeast Bronx YMCA. So if you're interested in attending, again, that is May 3rd, 1 through 4 at the YMCA. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll join. Okay, I think that concludes this portion of our agenda. Moving on, I have a quick report. Letters of support went out to the Ebenezer Church and Well Life. I emailed you all the letters. I had a meeting with our urban fellow, Aish. She's working on urban planning issues with us, and George and Ursula were part of that as well. Aish will be presenting on land use optimization and vacancy assessment for this district at our next land use committee meeting on Monday, May 12th. And Ursula did email that presentation out to all of you. She made an interesting suggestion for us to perhaps retain a marketing analysis of future development for this district. And I also asked her to evaluate the AMI, which is the area mean income averages for this district, which vary, right, with other districts like Upper East Side, Upper West Side, Brooklyn, et cetera. We know that the AMI equation should not be a one-size-fits-all formula. Therefore, having a percentage that is more accurate and represents this district is important when we're having conversations about affordable housing development, discussions, et cetera. Following, I also asked Aisha for the following presentation after that if she can focus on our community's infrastructure. So she will be assessing and studying how old our sewer systems are, when they were last updated, recommendations, flood zones, et cetera. So make sure you join our land use meeting, again, Monday, May 12th. And then requests for meetings. I have asked our district manager, George, to get us a meeting with the NYPD's new pilot quality of life division. And Alina, we just asked for your support as well. And the 47th precinct has a new commanding officer, Mohammed Ashraf. And I have also asked George for support in helping us get a meeting with him and inviting him to our next executive committee meeting in May. George, I don't know if you have any updates on that. And that wraps up my portion. Yes. Go ahead, Ariel.
I'm sorry, it was a comment that you made earlier about the sound. You said something you wanted to be a part of the pilot program. I wanted to ask what that was.
Alina spoke on it. The NYPD has a new division, which is quality of life, is a pilot program. And so they're meant to address issues such as noise complaints. As you know, our district was categorized as the noisiest. So it's a meeting that we're requesting. Well, that's what we should find out. Yeah.
For the sake of time, I'll just be really, really, really brief. This is budget season. The season is getting warmer, or the weather is getting warmer, I should suggest, which means that it's budget season. So I suggest that all of our committees start scheduling meetings with their agencies that they represent. So for example, I know that the Parks Department reached out to our committee, which we shared with our committee members about scheduling their budget meeting. So we're just waiting on dates from that committee, but this is just for all you other co-chairs that are out there. Start thinking about those meetings and the questions that you want to ask of them. I was going to talk about, we have the selection of the nominating committee tonight, which is important. We should try and get the election done before new board members are appointed. In the past, we've gotten new board members who don't know anything about who they're voting for, and they've been in an awkward spot of having to vote for somebody that they don't know. So I'm happy to see that. We're in that vein. I wanted to thank, we got an email this evening, you guys didn't get to see it, but we had a number of board members that didn't get reappointed. They chose not to reapply to serve on the board. So I want to thank them for their service. Serving on the board is a rather noble thing, at least I think so. You're volunteering your time, so it is noteworthy. But we actually don't know, that's why I was telling you earlier, Ariel, whether or not it counts for quorum, because the borough president's office hasn't told us whether they're still on the board or not. Theoretically, they were supposed to be off the board March 31st. I'm surprised the councilman didn't speak about this. I wanted to highlight, and actually our chair just mentioned AMI. The city council is having a hearing on Tuesday, April 29th at 10 o'clock in the morning. I emailed, or Ursula emailed you my district manager's report, so all of you should have it. But they're going to be talking about Housing Connect. And Housing Connect is the city's way of dealing with affordable housing and the challenges that are faced by Housing Connect. So we've touched on it briefly with Organ, but one of the concerns that we have up here is that all the new housing that gets built goes on Housing Connect, and then it comes off Housing Connect and gets turned into a shelter. And that's always been a concern, and that's one of the challenges that I raised with the councilman. I said, you know, this is the city's affordable housing lottery, and yet they're taking it off the lottery and they're turning them into shelters. So when they talk about building affordable housing, I would suggest that market rate is actually cheaper than what affordable housing is in this neck of the woods. So that's an important hearing. I'll be tuning in. Embedded in the report is the links. There's a link to YouTube and there's a link to Legistar, which is the city council's way of, so you can follow along. And Andy Turcos spoke about the vigil tomorrow evening. So if you have the opportunity, it's going to be here on the steps of our office. And as I always do, today marks my 3,553rd day as your district manager, or 9 years, 8 months, and 22nd day of my tenure here. I'm grateful for each and every day at the board. Thank you for your patience, and good night.
Thank you, George. I do want to make an announcement. Excuse me. I do want to make an announcement. You know, and it has a lot to do with elections as well. But as you know, Judith Benitez serves as on our executive officers, and she also serves as co-chair of small business and development. And so she's stepping down as co-chair, and that position is now going to Ariel. So she will be joining that committee as a co-chair. But Judith will continue to be part of one of our executive officers. We'll further discuss. Okay. So now we're going to go on. Thank you, George. We're going to go on to committee reports. Can I make a motion to pass the executive committee report that was submitted in February? Everybody should have received it. It was back in February. So okay. Did you cash out, Etonia? Okay. Committee 3. There was a portion that we didn't get to discuss last month, and that was the social media name handle. And so, you know, that is something that we should move along. There's so many things that we can be covering through social media. So, Alpha, did you have some names?
All right, so we have, I'll say 3. So we have the BX12 Unity Hub, we have the 12th Link, and then we said CB12 Connect. So those are the 3 top that we can probably vote on which one we like.
So I think that do people need time to
You want time?
repeat them?
All right, so BX12 Unity Hub, the 12th Link, CB12 Connect.
CB12.
I say CB12 Connect because it should have CB12. Maybe Bronx CB12 Connect because there are other CB12s in the other boroughs.
All right,
so
Bronx CB12 Connect.
okay, so should we take a vote?
All in favor?
This is what? I didn't hear. Right. You want to repeat that?
The motion before the body is whether or not we're going to approve Bronx CB12 Connect.
Okay. Everybody understand? Yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Alpha.
So we'd like to get a motion to pass the Bronx CB12 Connect as our social media handle name.
I second it.
So moved.
Okay, do you want to take a roll call and a vote?
CB12 Connect. Connect. I like that.
Carlton Berkeley.
Social media handle.
Carla Basadi is virtual caller. Did you hear? Not present.
Aye.
Patricia Boswell. Patricia Boswell.
Aye.
Michelle Brumfield. Absent. Desiree Campbell. Absent. Or not present, let's put it that way. Joan Klein. Etonia Davis. Tolene Dickerson.
Aye.
What did she say?
Aye.
Tierra Donaldson. Denise, are you still with us? Denise? She's not present. Okay. Jocelyn Farmer. Alfredo.
Aye.
Sabrina Fisher. Katika Fuentes is not present. It hasn't been official yet. Johnny Goff, not present. Darren Grant is not present. Sheila Grierson, I know that. Robert Hall.
Aye.
John Isaac. Theodore James, not present. Alpha Kamara. Robert Link. Javid Malik. Mark. Lucille Martin, are you still here?
Yes, I am. Aye.
Mam Mansah. Clinton Mike. Carmen Ortiz. Carmen. Carmen. Carmen, you're on mute. Can you give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down whether you're voting aye? Thank you. Wayne Palmer. Reginald Paris. Ariel Peters. I heard him. Ariel Peters. Dominic Finn. Anthony Reed, not present. Nicholas Rosas, not present. Sherry Samuels is excused. Karen Skinner. Carl Stricker. Benga. Thank you. Lou Salvados is excused. Deborah Torado. Damon Tutine. Gotcha. Deborah Walker. Not present. Beatrice Coronel. Judith Benitez, aye. The ayes have it.
Good job.
Oh.
Alpha. So is it going to be BXCB12 Connect or Bronx, full Bronx? BX? I got to ask. I wanted clarification. It's okay. Clarification is good. Because some of y'all was out there thinking the same thing I was. Thank you.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for taking the initiative on this, and we look forward to creating stories and content. Okay, last item on the agenda. So as George mentioned, elections are coming up. So basically every year, executive officers have to run again, right, and be voted in or out. And it gives also an opportunity if anybody else is interested in running. So in April, we nominate a nominating committee. In May, ballots are sent out. Whoever wants to run, if somebody wants to nominate somebody, for a special position, current executive officers share whether they want to run again or not. And then in June, we take a vote. And then by the end of June, we know who our new executive officers are. So nominating committee also gives a recommendation. Okay. Any questions? Okay, so at this point now, we have to nominate our committee. So you can raise your hand and nominate folks. Go ahead. On the mic. We need to nominate 5 people to this committee, to the nominating committee.
Hey, Robert Link.
Okay, so Etonia, Robert Link is officially on the committee. We need 4 more folks.
I nominate Etonia.
I nominate Bingo.
Okay, Benga. So we have Robert Links, we have Etonia, we have Benga. Alpha. Second. Okay. Wait, I want to nominate Javed too. Okay, how many you have so far? Go ahead, Alfredo? Yes. Alfredo was first, yeah. Yeah. And Benga. Okay, so just to recap, we have Robert Link, we have Etonia Davis, we have Benga, we have Alpha, and we have Alfredo. And that's our nominating committee. Okay, so next steps is you will have to meet.
After the meeting, they have to meet and pick their
Get on the link, on the.
I keep forgetting, my mouth is big enough, but anyway. After the meeting, the 5 members have to meet together for a minute or two to decide who the chair will be.
So you all get to decide who the chair of this nominating committee will be. Go ahead, Ariel.
I have a question. What happens if there are individuals in the committee that you want to vote them for, like, the committee? Because low-key, like, everybody I said, like, I wanted them in the committee. Like, I didn't want them, they ain't gonna vote for them. They can they vote for themselves? Like, that's, like, my thing. Because that's a conflict of interest.
Yeah.
So that's my question.
So no, they can't?
No, it's a conflict of interest. You can't do that.
No, right, you can't. You
Yeah.
cannot.
Because they can't, because they're part of the nominee, so they can't vote for themselves. But there are individuals, I think that this whole board has a lot of talent. There are individuals that are on the nominee that I would like to vote for in that. So when we're voting, would it be that they can't vote for themselves and then everybody would vote?
The members of the nominating committee cannot vote for themselves, and they can't, and anybody from the community board that's present at the May meeting cannot recommend one of the nominating committees for a position on the executive board. Their only duty is to choose 5 people that they think will serve the board the best, but they have to ask them, first of all, if they want to run. You can't pick Joe Schmo, and then he says, I don't want to run. Yeah? So you have to check with the person they're recommending. And then in May, after the slate is presented to the board, then we can take nominations from the floor for the positions.
Right. So to clarify, so we have our 5 members of this committee. Can somebody else nominate them for a position?
No. The nominating committee, their strict duty is to nominate people for the executive board, but they cannot be nominated for it.
Okay, George? George, you had a comment, question?
Yeah, so my understanding of the rules is that when you were nominating the people, all 5 people who said that they were going to serve, they have to understand that they then cannot, if they want to be a member of the executive committee or run for any position, then they have to decline the nomination to the nominating committee. So, what Carl is saying is that if, for example, if Ariel wants to nominate Javad or Benga for a senior leadership position on the executive committee, they cannot do that. So if they're considering running for any of these positions, then they should decline, and we should get somebody else to serve on the nominating committee who has no intention or every intention of declining if their name is raised.
I understand that, but I think, and I'm going to speak for myself, that I was not clear on that. It was a long day.
Right, so that gives the opportunity for those that have been nominated. With that information that you have the opportunity to decline.
I would like to decline for them because I don't trust them to decline. So I want to take back my nomination so they could just get back into the pool.
But they have to decline because we've already nominated.
I want to vote for them. I don't trust them to vote. Forget it. Well, I'll talk to them after.
I mean, you got to do it now.
Okay, I think Rob, sorry.
We've already voted.
You have the opportunity to decline. So if somebody already that was nominated feels like they want to run for something, do it now, because after that we can't go back.
Hi. Can you please decline? I would like him to. I want to nominate him. He's on the board. Rob.
Thank you. I'm very happy being on the nominating committee. I am excited to join and do the great work of the nominating committee. And I will not be on the executive committee.
You see, and I would have never voted that way.
I will not be an officer. I have no interest in being an officer, but thank you.
We're going to talk about this soon.
Bobby, this is a serious consideration. Are you sure? We're a democracy here. Are you sure? He's an attorney. Okay. All right. Tony, do you want to decline? Right. Okay.
I'm sorry, that wasn't on the microphone. I did not hear that, so I don't think that should be considered.
Yes.
Sorry, but Beatrice, could you just name again who's on the nominating committee so everyone knows who is available to run for the open positions?
Yes. So you want to know who's on the nominating committee? Okay. You have the list there, so you want to just share them?
All right, so we have Bobby Link. We have Etonia Elizabeth Davis Lopez. We have Alpha. We have Banga. Right? We also have Alfredo. I heard Javid earlier. Someone wanted to put Javid on it, but was that clear? Okay, so we already met with the fund. Right? Nope.
She wants to.
Nope. I am staying on the nominating committee.
I'm gonna remember that.
Right?
I mean, and just remember, I mean, we have a lot of new board members. This is a yearly election, right? So. Okay. Right. Okay. All right. Any other questions? All right. And so now remember that the nominating committee members have to meet and huddle, and then they have to come back in May with the meeting, right? So they're going to have a meeting in May with nominations, okay? So whoever's thinking of running, remember there's 6 positions that are online, right? Does anybody need a recap of what those positions are? Okay. Chair, my position. There's first vice chair, Clinton's position. There's second vice chair, which is John Isaac's position. And then there's a recording secretary, which is Judith's position. That's Michelle's position. And then Judith, secretary. And then Talene, treasurer. Those are the 6 positions. All right, so these positions are important. Think of who you want in these positions. And then in May, we'll come back if we're running. But even if we are running, you're still allowed to nominate someone else, okay? Any questions? Yes.
If you're considering running, what do you submit your resume or something? Like, what's the process for that?
It's a nomination, so somebody would have to nominate you.
So how are you nominated? Like, I don't know, like,
So the nominating committee is going to convene a meeting in May. That will be a noticed meeting. You're free to attend that noticed meeting and listen to the feedback from the nominating committee. But we haven't met to develop the rules for what the procedures are going to be. We have to agree on the rules and elect a chairman and things of that nature.
Beatrice. I guess my question is, like, how do you know, do you know everyone to nominate, consider who you're nominated? Like, what is that process? I guess that's what I'm asking.
I got it. The key is the nominating committee is going to nominate 6 people for the position, 1 for each position. Now, when we come back in May, if you feel you know somebody that should have one of those positions, you can nominate them in May to run against the person for whatever position you think they can fill. And so when we do the ballots for the June meeting, when we have the final vote, the vote should be in by June so we can announce the final, the final thing. So say 3 people are running for first vice chair. So what happens, the ballot goes out to all members of the board. They fill the ballot out, who they choose are the 3 people for that position. It goes back to the nominating committee, and they show that who's going to be running against them. So if you feel like Harry Yak, okay? You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Alpha?
I am going to decline. I'm gonna decline the nomination of the nominating committee.
Okay, so we have Alpha that declined, and so we need 1 more. Can we do?
Okay, I'm going to nominate Jaslyn Farmer for nominating committee.
Yes? Is that a yes?
They're bullying. No, I'm about to have a space.
Right. Guys, look, seriously, we got to take this serious. I'm sorry, all jokes aside, it has to be serious. No pressure. No pressure if you're not able to, because it is a commitment, and it's 3 months of commitment.
No, Wayne, no.
I would like to nominate Wayne Palma for the nominating committee.
Okay. All right.
Beatrice, one
Yeah.
last thing.
Yes.
I
second.
Sabrina, are you with it? Yes. Etonia. Okay? Yes? Okay. So we have Robert Link, we have Benga, we have Wayne, we have Sabrina,
They're
and
supposed to have
Alfredo.
5 or 7.
Okay? Is everybody in agreement? Yeah? Yes.
How many do you have?
We have 5.
Okay.
Sorry. It is Benga, it is Bobby, it is Sabrina, Wayne, and Alfredo. Those are our starting 5.
Congratulations. And make sure you huddle and have your first meeting before you leave, right? Or you'll call the meeting. You'll call it? Okay. All right, so we'll make sure that you have each other's information so you can reach out to each other. Okay? All right, can I get a motion to close? You caught that? Okay. Good night, everybody.